Arnold. He's the executive vice president of the National Taxpayers Union. Good morning, gents.
Good morning, John.
Morning.
So do you agree with Professor Pape's assessment that Americans will start seeing shortages? Let's start with you, Mark.
Well, I have to disagree with the distinguished Professor, John, and we really have to distinguish between the United States economic condition and the rest of the world. We've done, notwithstanding my criticism of Jerome Powell, a pretty good job of getting inflation in check, of continuing with GDP growth, of continuing with a very strong economy. We're seeing it already in earnings. We're in the very early stages of this earnings season, and it's looking great. We're looking to close the markets today at another set of all-time highs. So I would have to disagree substantially with the professor's remarks.
Yeah, 100%. Stock futures are definitely ticking higher after everything we've seen. And Brandon, in terms of the differences between the United States and Europe, we, of course, are fairly energy independent. And this is why Europe is seeing those potential shortages. Maybe 6 weeks is all they have left. So you'd think, though, that given all this, the Europeans would step up to the plate, trying to help open the Strait of Hormuz. How do you assess the current situation and distinction, as we just heard, between the U.S. and the overall European markets?
Yeah, I think it's an enormous contrast. Right now, we are a producer. We're not just a producer of energy, an exporter of energy, but we're also a major food producer, a major manufacturer. So we are very much positioned in a better spot than Europe has, which has moved away from so much production, moved away from reliable energy sources like we have embraced here in this country. That puts us in an advantageous position, and it does beg the question that you just asked. Why is Europe not leaning more into its relationship with the United States right now, when we are the obvious solution to some of the energy woes that they could be facing here? And I do think they could be facing shortages, not just higher prices when it comes to jet fuel and so forth. So they are in a very difficult place right now. We are positioned much, much better than Europe. But hopefully we'll have some stability across the globe as things pan out and we do achieve some form of peace in the Middle East.
Well, I'll give you an A+, Mark, for having the Freedom Tower in the background.
That's for you, John. I did that just for you. Yeah.
Talking about American independence. And it's a perfect segue into this next topic. President Trump touting the big, beautiful bill in Las Vegas and how much Americans who filed federal taxes are getting back this year. Take a listen.
The average refunds this season is over $4,000. And here in Las Vegas, many workers have reported refunds of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 or more, and they've never had anything. It's all from no tax on tips alone. So, and then don't forget, you have no tax on Social Security for our seniors. A lot of seniors out there. And you have no tax on overtime. You know, this state covers them all. You have the seniors, you have the overtime, but you have no tax on overtime. You have no tax on tips, and you have no tax, think of it, Social Security.
You know, Mark, I think that Freedom Tower just got a few extra levels with all of the tax breaks. And let's not forget the standard deduction as well. What say you?
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt. This is also one of the reasons why, guys, we are so decidedly bullish going into the rest of this year. All of that money is going to flow back into the economy. It's either going to be invested or it's going to be spent and consumed. I hope folks choose to invest. That would always be my recommendation. But in either case, it's going to flow back into the economy. It's going to benefit American companies, U.S.-listed companies. The stock market should do very well. And by the way, one thing we left out of that story, no shade on our producers, who I love, of course, but we're also not talking about the president's investment accounts. We saw that kick off in a very meaningful way. Billions of dollars coming in. What a great head start for young people through age 21 to actually have a meaningful nest egg for retirement that can be put into the stock market in a tax-efficient way.
Well, Brandon, I have to give you credit about your background because you have a lovely brick wall, which I assume is representing the border wall here and the United States finally having sovereignty, illegal migrants who are no longer coming into our country and spending tax dollars. So overall, in terms of what we're seeing with taxes right now, could you tell us about tax expenditures and how the U.S. is actually getting a better ROI than we ever have before and what this means for the American public?
Absolutely. I mean, this is just a warm, cozy fireplace here, so it's supposed to project comfort. But I think we've also found a lot of comfort in the tax code here. What President Trump didn't say in his speech, there almost half of Americans, as they filed taxes, were able to take advantage of one of those new tax provisions, whether that's no tax on tips or the senior deduction. So we're talking about millions of people benefiting. The average refund up, an increase of 11%, or about $350. So that's money in people's pockets that, like Mark said, they're going to go out and spend, they're going to put into the private sector, and that is going to stimulate economic growth, job creation, all of those important things that we want to see. The other thing I really love about the One Big Beautiful Bill and its predecessor, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act back in 2017 in Trump's first term, we shaved about $1 billion off $1 billion hours off compliance costs when it comes to filling out your taxes, thanks in large part to that increase in the standard deduction, doubling of the standard deduction. So we're making tax day a lot less painful for average Americans, which can now take the standard deduction rather than itemizing and going through that lengthy process of filing their taxes. That's a huge win for average Americans.
You know, I never thought I'd say this, but Mark, I want you to keep talking. Why? Because the market is above 49,000. So I have to ask you another question. America's addiction to cheap goods. If China and other countries around the world are feeling this supply crunch, where, let's say, the fuel costs are getting to their operations, higher production costs, wages, and so forth, that's actually going to have an inflationary factor when it comes to their exported goods into our country. Can you speak to that? Will it have an inflationary impact in terms of the global shortage of energy?
Yeah, I mean, John, there's no doubt it's a confluence of events that does not bode well for countries like China, particularly China, that rely on an economy that manufactures, sells, and exports a lot of stuff we probably don't need. Look, there's plenty of stuff that we do need that they make, supply, and ship over here, but a lot of those low-priced goods, I don't know if either of you are fans of Shein or Temu or any of these these sites that offer this stuff at almost impossible to believe prices. And when you add on things like some structural and fundamental issues in economies, particularly in China, labor market, the age of the working class, population stagnation, things of that nature, they're going to be in some real trouble, guys. And when you combine that with the fact that we've cut them off from oil from Venezuela, we're limiting or restricting their supply of their favorite supply chain of oil coming from Iran, still remains to be seen ultimately how that's impacted. But look, we're in a trade war with China. Let's be very candid about it. We have been for a long time, and the president is winning.
You know what? What a great way to start my weekend. Market rebellion and lower taxes. I love you guys. Mark Lopresti and Brandon Arnold, we appreciate you so much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, guys.